We light the first candle to honor Buddhism. May all beings have happiness, and the causes of happiness may all be free from sorrow and the causes of sorrow. May all live in equanimity and live believing in the equality of all that lives. We light the second candle in honor of Hinduism. May all in this world be happy. May they be healthy, may they be comfortable, and never miserable. May the rain come down in the proper time. May the earth yield plenty of corn. May the country be free from war. We light the third candle in honor of Christianity. May God bless you and protect you. May he smile on you and be gracious to you. May he show you his favor and give you his peace. We light the fourth candle to honor Islam. Peace be upon you and Allah's mercy and blessings. We light the fifth candle to honor Judaism. Blessed are you, the eternal one, our God, ruler of the cosmos, who has kept us alive, sustained us, and enabled us to reach this moment. We light the sixth candle to honor the spirituality of Cheyenne Nation. Let us know peace, for as long as the moon shall rise, for as long as the rivers shall flow, for as long as the sun shall shine, for as long as the grass shall grow, let us know peace. We light the final candle to honor the spirituality of the Samburu people of Kenya. May God set you free. May God guide your night and day. May God set you in the right place, and may you spread out like the grass of a prairie. August theme: respect other nations and people's blessings as gratitude. This reading is by Dr. Robert Emmons. Without gratitude, life can be lonely, depressing, impoverished. Gratitude enriches human life. It elevates, energizes, inspires, and transforms. And those who practice it will experience significant improvements in several areas of life. So if you can just take these words into that inner sanctuary for a few moments of contemplation. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, God. For right where we stand, God is. This very infinite energy that moves through us, as us, and around us at all times. It is what is breathing us. It is what is walking with us, as us, and around us at all times. It is embedded within every cell of our body, this divine design of magnificence. We are empowered in this day to step into that light and love and peace always. And I know that God is infinite. It is loving us. It is with us in our joy and in our sorrow. It is with us all the time. every day, always. And so I know that this same energy, this same power, this same divinity is orchestrating this service today. That we are blessed to be in this space on this day that is a gorgeous, sunny, beautiful day. Alive and living and breathing and celebrating our own lives. And so I know that there is divine guidance and wisdom for Stephanie. I know that the Children's Church is in divine order and divine right action. I'm knowing that all of us together create that beautiful consciousness of love. And I give such thanks. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God. And together we say, and so it is.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm going to begin today with a confession. True confession, it's time, right? I had a lot of trouble putting this talk together for this morning. And that may come as a shock to you because we're talking about gratitude today. And when you take foundations, we're offering foundations again this fall. When you take foundations, you find out that gratitude is one of our basic spiritual practices. We talk about it, we teach it, we lean on it. We have exercises expressly for gratitude work, right? If you started with Reverend Cece's Habits of Happiness class, you did some of those exercises this past week. Centers for Spiritual Living in our philosophy, which is called the Science of Mind. I mean, we don't even own the market on gratitude, right?
Yeah.
It's everywhere. Gratitude journals are an industry unto themselves. Oprah, Deepak, TED Talks, YouTube. But the simple fact is, I am an ungrateful turd. Thank you, Libby. Raise your hand. Thank you. And I'm wired that way. We're all wired to one point or another for pessimism. We're all wired to one point or another for fear. It's that deepest, oldest, most basic part of our brains. Is it the reptilian brain?
Yeah.
Reptilian brain, yes. It's the part of our brains that kept our earliest ancestors alive when they were living among creatures that viewed them as, soft, chewy snack foods. Have you ever dropped a gummy bear on the carpet? The saber-toothed tiger didn't turn out a hairy, human-sized gummy bear, did it? No. So we all have it, but some of us are wired to be more pessimistic than others. Now the interesting thing is that science has shown that we can actually build, in essence, a more grateful brain. Through practice and the adoption of certain types of habits, we can actually rewire ourselves to be more optimistic and to find moments of reason and more moments in reason for gratitude. Now it's not known yet if we can build a more forgiving brain, but we can build ourselves a more grateful brain. Some of us just have a longer way to go than others. I can tell you that for me, I've come to realize fairly recently that where part of that came from, where my earliest patterns came from, was from seeing the people around me with negative self-talk. I heard a lot of it's always something. Something's always happening to me. Why does this always happen to me? Why can't I ever get anything done right? And I just thought that was how you talked to yourself. That was how you achieved. That was how you got yourself through the day. So when you're busy looking at your faults or what you think is happening to you, it's kind of hard to find things to be grateful for. And if you find yourself nodding your head, raising your hand, if you feel like I have a spotlight on you, it's okay. You can come sit next to me. We can practice together. Because that's what it takes to build a grateful brain. It takes practice. Now I'm not gonna stand up here and give you any of these exercises because literally they are everywhere. Please find what works for you. We have gratitude journals in different places here, right at the edge of the sanctuary. Maybe it's writing them down. I don't know, maybe it's having a stone in your pocket, and every time you reach in your pocket and you touch it and you say, okay, take a deep breath. What are 3 things I'm grateful for? There are lots and lots of things. Find what works for you. Take Reverend Cece's class. Take Foundations. Practice. Find what works for you. Practice. And it's okay if you have to practice more than others. We all have that friend, right? That they're just, everything's fantastic. And you're like, what? I have 2 minister mentors, right? They're both in British Columbia right now. They'll be in Southern California soon, taking over CSL Redlands. But one of my minister mentors, literally every weekday at 8 a.m. their time, thank God it's 11 here, she does a Facebook Live for 10 minutes, and it's called Wake Up, Say Thank You. And her name is Stephanie too, so I don't know if there has to be a Reverend Steph at the opposite end of each, of that spectrum, that grateful spectrum. And if you're sitting there going, I can't think of which friend of mine that's always, it might be you. It might just be you. So like I said, if you're feeling like a gratitude failure, come sit next to me. Now there's a bigger reason that I had trouble preparing this talk today. The disingenuous makes me grind my teeth. And I see a lot of that in gratitude practice. It's spiritual bypass to say, I'm just going to be grateful for everything. Ernest Holmes said it was dangerous to call anything an illusion because we would simply call everything that we don't like an illusion and then not deal with it. And the same can be true of gratitude. We will claim to be grateful for the most horrific things that have just happened to us in order to not walk through fear, grief, pain. I'm so glad this awful thing happened to me yesterday. No, I'm fine, really. This is so great. God has blessed me. Come on. A while after Donald Trump took office, Susan Sarandon went on TV, and Susan Sarandon, if you recall, was a big Bernie Sanders supporter. And she went on TV and she said that now she thought that it was a good thing that Donald Trump had been elected because look at all the conversations people were having that they'd never had before. And look how involved people were in government now. And I tried that. I tried that on for a while. I talked to people about it. Yeah, look at all these people that are calling their representatives and they're making them represent their interests. Millions of people made phone calls to save health care. And then it kept going. And then it just made me grind my teeth. Come on, really? Jimmy Aldo Oud was born in Detroit, and he was deported recently to a country he'd never been to, where he didn't speak the language, and he died because he didn't have access to insulin. I just read this recently. I read it on Friday. I bet a lot of you have seen it too. Terrible things are happening outside. At any time of night and day, poor helpless people are being dragged out of their homes. Families are torn apart. Men, women, and children are separated. Children come home from school to find their parents have disappeared. That didn't come out of Mississippi this past week. Anne Frank wrote that in 1943. But I should be grateful for the conversations, let's face it, my fellow white folks are now having about things like race and immigration and health care and gun reform. Really? No. Susan, take your privilege and go to the corner and think about what you've done. I'm so sorry you had to die or your children had to be traumatized, but we're really grateful that all of us have been forced to have these conversations. Come on. That is gratitude as bypass. That is gratitude that says, I'm not gonna, I can't, I'm not gonna. The saying goes, a minister's job is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. Notice nowhere does it say a minister must make people comfortable. Spiritual bypass in the guise of gratitude will never ever fly with me. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to take a hammer and chisel to anybody. You're not going to come into my office and sit down with me and I'm going to grab you by the shoulders and shake you and say, step out of it! I'm not Cher. Okay, the crowd's old enough that everything's good. But what I've come to realize is that in saying yes to ministry, what I've really said yes to is being uncomfortable all the time. And yes, at least once a day, I ask myself, what were you thinking? But what it also means is that I will walk through it with you as far as I can or as far as you want me to. Every minister worth their salt will. Every practitioner worth their salt will. As you see, spiritual bypass of any kind, but especially that which is armored in gratitude, it doesn't serve our lives. It doesn't serve our communities. And it does not serve this world. It is not a luxury we can give ourselves right now. We are on fire. We have to keep moving forward together. So, for all my griping about gratitude, here's the kicker. We need it. We have to have it. We're miserable human beings without it, and you probably all know one of those people too, and I might be that person for you. Life is unbearable without it. It's why everything feels so hard for so many of us right now. See, gratitude is a gift. We experience something and it reminds us of all the good in our lives. It reminds us of our connection to Spirit, to one another. It's a gift we give to ourselves, and it's a gift we give to others, and it's a gift that we receive. But when your friend is never going to come home from a night out, or your neighbor suddenly disappears, or you see a child sobbing for their father, and you don't know what you can do, it's hard to see much of anything as a gift. Hopelessness and helplessness are very real for many of us these days. Seeing the good in our own lives might just carry a twinge of guilt with it. And so for a long time I didn't know what I might be able to say to you today. Before service last week I told Reverend Cece, I said, I'm glad it's you up here and not me. she said to me, part of our job is to offer hope. And that can be hard. And I wasn't sure how to offer hope today. So earlier this week, I sat down and I talked to Reverend Cece about it. And I don't know if she will ever realize just how big of a key she handed me in our discussion. She said, gratitude is about awe. A-W-E, awe. Now at first I thought, oh gosh, how often does awe happen for me? How often am I just swept away by something, left speechless by beauty? How often am I overwhelmed with joy? Please remember, not hardwired very well for gratitude, just yet. And then it hit me, yes, awe is those big things that we remember all of our lives. The birth of a child, the first time you see the ocean, the first time you see the night sky with no light pollution. These big, broad things that just make you go, oh. But more importantly, it's the little things. It's the unexpected that makes us stop and remember we're here. In a moment. With our lives, with spirit, with one another. The little things bring us through the worst times. I read part of a book recently called Braiding Sweetgrass. And in it, the writer talks about pecan trees. Now, I'm from here. I mean, literally door to door, it's 3 miles from where I grew up. I don't know a thing about pecan trees. But what I learned is that pecan trees are what are called a masting fruit tree. Masting, M-A-S-T. Meaning they don't drop their nuts every year. The tree has to build up a certain amount of starch in its roots, and then when it has a surplus, it will drop the pecans. Now to me, it made absolute sense that the largest tree in the pecan grove would hog up all the nutrients and drop its fruit, if not yearly, then maybe every other year. And in those off years, maybe the next biggest tree or biggest trees around it would take up enough nutrients to drop their pecans. But that's not how it works. All of the trees in the grove will mast, all of them, or they don't. What's more so, all of the groves in an area, in a county, they will all mast, or they won't. Now yes, science kind of understands why that happens, but I don't think it makes it any less magical. It wasn't any less awe-inspiring to me when I read it for the third time than when I read it for the first time. Such a little thing. But it's magic. It's alive. It's aliveness. Have you ever grown peppers? I'm sorry, this cold is whooping me today. I have 2 jalapeno plants in a pot on my back patio. And before you begin to see the pepper, what comes out first is a bloom. And in jalapenos, it's this tiny white flower, no bigger than my thumbnail. And the petals look just so fine, so delicate, that I sometimes imagine that that's what little fairy wings would look like. But they protect the newly growing pepper. And when the pepper is big enough, the flower dies and closes around the end of the pepper. And I just pluck the dead bloom off, and I know I have a jalapeno coming. But I've tried to pull the flower off before it has died. And this delicate little thing, it would not turn loose. The whole stalk would break off before that flower will let go on that growing pepper that it's protecting. It had a job. It's such a little thing. And it never ceases to amaze me. It reconnects me to that exact moment in my life, in my body. It reconnects me to wonder, to spirit, to other people. To all of you pepper growers out there. It doesn't leave me speechless. It isn't an otherworldly experience, but it makes me smile. When we give ourselves the gift of awe in the little things, we give ourselves a lifeline from hopelessness and helplessness. It's my mother's laugh. It's my wife's smile. It's a painting I got in the mail from my 9-year-old niece that she did for me for my birthday. It's a plaque one of you left for me on my old desk that says, "To plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow." Yes, awe is the big things. It's thousands of Daytonians filling the streets of the Oregon district. But I guarantee you it was a little thing that brought them all there. And no, Susan, death isn't a little thing. Something gave each of those people hope for a better future. Something let each of them be open to walking through pain and grief and anger to do something. Gratitude as awe for the little things has immense power. We can walk through grief, we can walk through pain, we can walk through fear, we can walk through anger with it. And then we can be grateful for that walk, because it has inspired us to do something to make things better. It is those little things that keep us alive. Not existing or just slogging through, but alive. Open to our connection with Spirit. Open to our connection with one another. Hopeful. Kathleen Sheeter Bonanno was an American poet who wrote a book of poetry called Slamming Open the Door. Her daughter, Lady, was murdered by an ex-boyfriend, and the poems in this very small book, this is a chronicle of that journey for her, for Kathleen. Each one is harder to read than the last. Her grief is unflinching. This is the last poem in the book. It's called Poem About Light. You can try to strangle light. Use your hands and think you've found the throat of it, but you haven't. You could use a rope or a garrote or a telephone cord. But the light, amorphous, implacable, will make a fool of you in the end. You could make it your mission to shut it out forever, to crouch in the dark, the blinds pulled tight. Still, in the morning, a gleaming little ray will betray you, poking its optimistic finger through a corner of the blind, and then more light, clever, nervy, impossible, spilling out from the crevices, warming the shade. This is the stubborn sun, choosing to rise like it did yesterday, like it will tomorrow. You have nothing to do with it. The sun makes its own history. Light has its way. Now that doesn't sound like gratitude or awe or even hope, does it? But there's a glimmer of recognition there. The last line, light has its way. She noticed that. Despite the horror, the pain, the grief, she noticed that light has its way with us, with her. Those grounding moments walked her through. When we notice the light, whether we see it or we feel its warmth, we're here. We're here. We're in our bodies. We're in this moment. We're connected to Spirit. We're connected to one another. It's such a small thing. Light has its way with us. Hope has its way with us. I have heard it said that we are living in morally bankrupt times. We must take care of ourselves. But we cannot afford to look away either. Gratitude clothed as awe for the little things can help us care for ourselves. It can open us to that hope so that it may have its way with us. People are dying and I will not be grateful for that. But I will be grateful for the little moments of awe that let me connect to hope, to move through my pain and anger, my grief, my fear, and do something to make the world better. For many of us, the little things would seem to be all we have. But I swear to you, it's enough. Open your heart. And be ready for the little things that make you smile. The light can have its way with us at any moment. Hope can have its way with us at any moment. Any moment can connect us.